Currently it seems like there are only two topics of discussion: Tango the Destroyer and Damien Chazelle's La La Land. Given the buzz around this film, I really wanted to check it out. I'm also a big fan of Ryan Gosling, I love Emma Stone, and I really like the OST, which has been a permanent fixture on the playlist where I work at HMV Romford. Unfortunately, I don't know much about musical cinema, and I know even less about jazz music. Fortunately, this didn't really seem to be an issue, despite the fact that La La Land invokes the spirit of the golden age of Hollywood musicals. What was apparently an issue, at least for the legion of pensioners I was sharing the theatre with, was the fact that this story of jazz musician Sebastian falling in love with aspiring actress Mia wasn't quite as light and dreamy as everyone was expecting. In fact, in matters of substance, this is Requiem for a Dream. Okay, it's not. It doesn't feature as much intravenous drug use or double-ended dildos. But it does have a very distinctive soundtrack, and both films are structured around the seasons, using intertitles to tell us what part of the year the story is taking place in. Significantly, both films are about the power of dreams, how important it is to chase them, but also the friction which is created when they rub up against real life. And La La Land takes an unexpectedly sombre turn. About halfway through, there's a conspicuous suspension of musical numbers, as Sebastian has basically abandoned his dream of opening a jazz club. The opening night of Mia's one-woman show is a complete disaster, and their relationship and happiness is basically whittled away at as they gradually get pushed further and further apart. This isn't to say that La La Land is just a stealth gloom fest. A friend who had seen this film before me noted that it has some very literal things to say about the state of jazz music, particularly its supposed decline. Co-star John Legend has a scene where he talks about the pioneers who Sebastian worships and about how they were progressives and innovators, and how traditionalists like Sebastian himself are the ones allowing jazz music to wither on the vine. In some ways, this one scene sums up the spirit of La La Land. Chazelle is basically trying to advance and riff on a cinematic form which is bathed in nostalgia and increasingly taken for granted. It's worth noting that La La Land makes one hell of a first impression, with a surreal and joyful opening number which is a masterpiece of both camera and dance choreography. Every musical number lands in this film, particularly Emma Stone's solo, Audition the Fools Who Dream, which is absolute proof about why she is the best thing in this film by miles. However, Gosling really isn't at his best. He's far too stoic and detached for a role which requires a lot more emotional intensity. Though you do have to salute the fact that he only had 3 months to learn how to play jazz piano to an expert level. There's a lot to love here, but I do have to agree with Courtney Young from OnTheScreenReviews.com. The Oscar hysteria is excessive. This is a bold and daring picture, but not a best one. Emma Stone gives an Oscar-worthy performance, but beyond that, I feel that any awards this film should win should come from the technical categories, particularly editing, costume and sound. As previously alluded to, Justin Hurwicz's score is great, and it was very shrewd to hire the visionary Marius de Vries as musical director. He's exactly the sort of guy you want on board when you're trying something as intricate and bold as this. He's won Grammys, BAFTAs and Ivor Novello. He produced the last Madonna album, which was worth listening to. And he also produced Siobhan Donaghy's Ghosts, a great record which few people have heard of, but everyone should listen to. Ultimately, despite a really strong screenplay, the story of La La Land really hasn't stuck with me, and I can't ever see myself coming back to this film with any real enthusiasm. I sort of feel about it how I felt about Birdman. I appreciate the craft which went into making it more than the experience of having seen it. What Cazelle's given us here is an exquisitely constructed and sincere tribute to those who follow their dreams, despite the bittersweet conclusion. La La Land is well worth a look for fans of both musicals, and those like myself who just had a burning curiosity. Just be mindful of the hype.